Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dental Innovator podcast. Today we are talking about mindset, and specifically we are talking about entering into the attack mode mindset and how this can benefit you in your life. There is a visual component to this podcast on the YouTube video. Check that out if you want all of the slides. Okay, let's get started. So, defense. Most of us are in a defensive posture. This means that things and life events are happening to us. This can feel like we are under assault or under attack, which also leads to us adopting an even more defensive posture to get away from the pain of the external environment. This leads to a negative spiral of life events eventually battering us even more, and in this place we certainly feel weak. And if you see the slide here, you've got this very defensive posture of someone hiding behind a shield. Do they look weak? Do they feel weak, or do they feel strong? Most likely they feel weak and they feel under attack. And that is the position that most people are in most of their lives. And it's very important to identify this within yourself and move into attack mode. That's more like it. If you see the associated image, a man there standing with blood all over him, 2 axes. Yes. Now, we're being figurative here, metaphorical. It's metaphorical blood. We're not talking about actually attacking people, but we are talking about adopting that mindset of getting yourself into more of a positive frame as opposed to standardized, status quo, negative frame. So in order to flip the script and enter into the mind frame of attack mode, you have to realize that you are happening to life, not the other way around. When you do this, you feel more powerful and you feel that there are more possibilities. And it is certain that the flow state is more easily entered. The flow state is where things are happening, events are happening just as you mean them to, and your life is in flow. You are flowing towards your goals with ease. You are flowing towards your outcomes that you would desire with ease. And life is moving in conjunction with your flow and helping you to attain everything that you wish to attain. In this state, you are less weak. You are less in victimhood. And inherently, you have more access to your true potential. How? How do you get there? Most of us spend most of our lives in this place, in this very negative frame. And when I say frame, I mean the lens through which you see the world, the lens through which you see yourself. Often, that has been imparted to you by parents, by figures of authority, whether it be teachers, whether it be head teachers, whether it be somebody at school telling you can't do something, or someone in a sports coach or whatever telling you can't do it. I had one, pronounced one, that had the opposite effect and really got me into attack mode. I don't think the teacher was trying to do this, but this is what it happened. This is what happened as a result. They said to me, well, they laughed at me. So when I said I wanted to do dentistry or medicine, and I was 16, and I'd just done GCSEs, and I was at a private school. I didn't do fantastically my GCSEs. So they literally laughed at me when I said that's what I wanted to do. And I knew that if I applied myself and I put my power into this, I could make it happen. I also had a friend, as an anecdote, who got told by a chemistry teacher that there's no chance that he could get an A. And what did he do? It works. Now, I don't know whether teachers are actually using this. This is opening an avenue of thought here. If any of you are teachers, are you using this to try and motivate your students? Or do you genuinely not believe in us and then trigger off an event where we can prove you wrong? So it could be teachers, it can be parents. Now what happens is we take these external voices and we internalize them. We make them part of our internal narrative. And you need to be conscious that you are doing this. And the first point is to become aware of this. Scan your body and mind and assess how you are actually feeling. Do you feel overpowered by problems? Do you feel unable to act and at the mercy of life events, your mind narratives, etc.? Are you where you wish to be, or Are you stuck? Awareness of this is the first step to freedom from constraints. And the first step of awareness is starting to realize that there were two objects of constraint. The first was the external stimulus, potentially. And the second, which is more powerful, is the internal response to that external stimulus. Meaning, it's not the chains that have been put on you by someone else. It is the chains that you have been wearing ever since through choice. Unconscious choice, but choice nevertheless. And that means that you have the power. You have the power and the ability to change this, to change these parts of yourself. But first, you must see them. You must become aware of them. How does one break the defensive posture? Remember, for most people, that this is the status quo place that they are existing in. It is in a place of defensive posture. The first thing to do is ask yourself the question, have I had enough of being a victim? If the answer to that is no, then sorry, you're not going to be able to break the defensive posture. If the answer to that is yes, though, you have a choice, you have a chance and a choice to make. How is being a victim serving me? Not how am I being oppressed. Not how am I being weakened by those around me. How is me identifying being a victim serving me? How is it helping me? For example, if I was to get into the narrative of being called the P word, which, for you who are Asian, you'll know what that is. I was playing football when I was 14 and getting shouted from the sidelines by grown adults, this insult. Did I let it stop me? Did I walk off the pitch? Did I stop playing? No. I was like, I'm going to play harder. And I'm going to find out whose kid that is. And I'm going to snap him with a 2-footed tackle. And that's been me since a kid, and that's the way I am now. Now, do you feel more weak or more powerful when you're a victim? I can tell you with absolute certainty, you feel more weak when you are a victim. If you've had enough, and this is the key point, if you have had enough, if you have exhausted your energy stores, your resilience in being a victim, you can choose to adopt a different posture. Instead of allowing my mind and thought to continue down this path of the victim mindset, I'm choosing to be done with it. If you're listening to this and you've identified that you do potentially have the victim mindset, say it along with me, I'm done with it. Whatever I was getting from it, approval from others when I moan about this or that, that is a fleeting approval, isn't worth it. If I was to summate very briefly how easy a conclusion that is to get to, it definitely is not worth it. It does not even make you feel a smidgen better moaning to others. And if you find, as a self-observation, that you are a moany, groany individual, you are seated deeply in the victim mentality, the victim posture, which is the defensive posture. You need to self-identify, you need to be aware of this, and then make steps to change it, which I'm giving you now. The first point is to allow yourself to transcend this mindset, and the way that you transcend it is to realize that you yourself are trapping yourself in it. When you give external forces power over you, you're allowing them to have power over you, not just when the traumatic event happened, but for years and years, and it may be your entire life afterwards. That part of it is a choice. Transcendence. Constant vigilance over the mind and the thought processes is what is required. No judgment at all. Just watch the narratives that your mind habitually creates. It's almost like a game. When you're not a part of the movie screen, you're sat watching the movie screen play out in the cinema. There is a degree of detachment between you sat there having your popcorn and the people that are in that movie. You become detached. You, as a result, become more powerful because you are not tied one-to-one with that cinema screen. So once you see it and once you become aware of it, that is often enough. But you need to do that and keep repeating it. This space, this awareness, will allow space to form between you and your thought pattern, which is the first rung on the ladder of spiritual development, by the way. Although we're not talking about spiritual development here, we're talking about personal development. And really, there is not really much difference. Once you get further down the path with both, you start to realize it's the same path. But yeah, that space allows you to form the space between you and your thought pattern. You are starting to exist in that space. And that is a very interesting place to be. This allows you to no longer self-identify as that weak narrative that you've been told and you have propagated. You have propagated that narrative. It may have been told to you. It may have been done to you in a specific event or several events. But you are the one who is continuing to allow that narrative to exist. You are the one who is continuing to allow yourself to be a victim to that narrative and allow your entire life to be dictated to you by that narrative. Break it if you wish to change. Once you no longer believe the story that you've been telling yourself, you allow yourself to let it go and transcend it. Positive habit forming. Our friends, the scientists out there, have said to us that it only takes 3 to 4 weeks to establish a new habit. Support your progress by reading books that encourage more self-awareness. Eckhart Tolle is a great start. Maintain constant vigilance with your thought processes. And here we go to the mindset part. Die to the self. This is actually a principle that's said in the Bible, I believe. Die to self. What we are doing is identifying the part of ourselves which we wish to transcend and letting that die. And choosing to let go of that part of ourselves and transcending it. This opens up a world of new possibilities, potentially. All humans have trauma. Your mind and your thought processes would tell you that your trauma is more than others. Would tell you that your trauma is more significant. Would tell you that your trauma is just more than others, and that is why you are not where they are. What you realize with time is that, as the Buddha said, life is suffering. This is a universal truth. I was reading the Deepak Chopra biography of the Buddha when I was a young man, probably 15 or 16. And this quote, life is suffering, really caused me to go into quite a dark place. But it was a necessarily dark place because it allowed me at a very young age to understand that there is suffering that is part of being a human being. And that it is a universal truth. And it actually is a liberating truth. Because it frees you from the feeling that it's just me. No, we're all in this together. All of us human beings undergo suffering, undergo pain. And this helps us transcend it once you start to see it. We all look externally at factors, events, people that stunt our progress or have stunted our progress. Are we all in actual fact playing the blame game? And how does that actually benefit us? If we take emotion completely out of it, we realize that the narratives that we create in our mind will limit us. The narratives that we are creating in our mind will limit us. However, we could adopt a different lens through which to view the traumas of our lives. A different lens, a different angle, a different viewpoint, a different frame. If we could adopt that different frame that would allow us to live a better life in spite of our suffering, is that not better? Just because we suffered before, do we need to continue to keep ourselves trapped in a circle of suffering? Is self-pity and feeling miserable really better? I say no, but all of you will have your own answer. And a different lens. By attack mode, I don't mean physically attacking. What I mean is adopting a more powerfully positioned mindset to help us achieve our goals. We do not do this with reckless abandon. We do not put aside our humanity. We do not put aside our compassion. We do not put aside our morality and our ethics in order to do this. That is not necessary. That is a travesty. That is, as in certain religions they say, an innovation of the mind. It is not the reality behind what I'm saying. You do not need to do any of that. We maintain empathy for others and compassion, but no longer allow ourselves to get in our own way. That's what we're really talking about here. We're talking about ourselves getting in our own way. If that means some people naturally fall away from your life, that will naturally happen. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to ring anybody up and say, you're not good for me. I'm laughing because that sounds preposterous. Some out there would say to you, you need to give them the phone call and tell them that they are not good for your life. No, they will just fall away. Because you will become a train of energy heading in one direction. And anyone who's not on that train will fall away. You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to force anything. You're entering more and more with this attack mode mindset into potential and opening yourself up to the flow state. Having a brighter future. There is no better feeling than knowing that you are fulfilling your potential, that you are fulfilling your mission in this world. There is no better feeling than that. That you have transcended your own weaknesses, your own limiting thought patterns, your own limiting beliefs. And despite all of that, weighed against you, you've ascended the mountain, and you continue to ascend the mountain. You continue to move forward to fulfill your mission in this world. And you do so with courage. That is a beautiful feeling, and I want all of you to have it. The only way to be brave is to exhibit bravery, and not just once, over and over and over again. And let me tell you something, if you faced your own demons, if you faced your own naysayers within the constraints of your own mind, and you have transcended that, there is nothing external that can touch you. Can't really penetrate into your belief in yourself and what you are here to do. If you do this, you will feel more powerful and more able to determine your own future. Instead of being weak and at other people's mercy, you will adopt the attack mode posture. And then you'll be in a position to go out and achieve your goals. Let's all do this together. Let's drop the victimhood. Let's drop the defensive posture. And instead adapt and adopt the attack mode.